Yeah, let's get started. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ARknet Emergency Response Development Briefing, the one we announced prior. My name is David LaMountain. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Tautachrome Inc., publicly traded on the OTC market. On the main screen, you'll see our safe harbor statement regarding today's briefing. That is the same thing, customary that we have with our every press release that we put out. I'd like to take the time to thank all of you for joining us during this tumultuous time in our economy, especially our communities and certainly our houses and our homes. We'll be addressing today accelerated deployment or development areas in response to the emergency situation that we are all experiencing. We like to make it clear that these areas are areas that we have been working on in accelerated ways. They're already established with the exception of the telehealth, which has moved to the forefront of our development attention due to changes in regulations and changes in reimbursement support at the federal level. Today, we're going to be addressing new features for business using ARknet, home-based inventory supply alerts, and the telehealth as it relates to alleviating, in part, the burden that is rising on our healthcare system. I'd like to introduce Jordan Gray, who is architecting the ARknet platform. Jordan is the CEO and CIO of Honeycomb Archive, LLC, which is the strategic partner of Tautachrome Inc. The presentation should last about 30 or 40 minutes, give or take, and then at the end, we'll open up for questions. If you guys notice, we have a kind of a Zoom group chat. If you want to post your questions in there, we'll kind of gather those and filter those through, make sure there's no duplicates, and then we'll get to a Q&A at the end.
Great, so thank you. This is Jordan here. I'm gonna queue up my my location setup here. 1 second, and 1 moment. We're just gonna get situated and get this party started. Can everybody see us here in our room? And now, just to orient everybody quickly, if you hit the chat button, I'm sorry, the participants list. If you hit that participants list on the bottom of your black bar of your Zoom, you should see a variety of buttons. Sometimes I might ask you a yes or no question. Sometimes there's also an opportunity to applaud. We're going to have some opportunity for that, hopefully. And then it looks like there's a couple other options there too. I guess you can offer me a cup of coffee as well. Anyway, thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, David, for the introduction. Some of you that have been tuning in to our development over the last, really over the last year plus, are aware of a lot of the efforts that we've been making in regards to business listings and so forth. In regards to, some of you might remember our prototyping went underway last year with Pantry Alert. We're not going to be getting into Pantry Alert today, but as a follow-up, that is a parallel process that is happening to today's briefing. All of that work is still continuing and actually also in an accelerated path, but we're not going to make that the focus of discussion today. But for those that are familiar with previous press alerts, press releases, you would have seen the fact that allowing pantries to indicate their inventory levels, which are very likely going to be distressed here shortly, and being able to solicit very specific donations. That's also something that is a background topic that will be outside of today's discussion largely. The broad scope of what we want to talk to the group about today is how we are taking the concept of a business object or a business ARK inside of our system, our platform, and allowing users that run businesses to attach products and services and to sell those services directly through the platform. Secondly, we're going to be covering how homes can set up their own, kind of just like a business would set up their location. A home can establish their location and also indicate critical inventory levels, very similar to the pantry levels. And so that you can say to your immediate friends and family, there's a lot of people that are out there trying to assist and help other folks around them. And what we hope to provide through leveraging tools that have already been built before this moment and then be accelerated to be launched and hardened and pushed out. We have those tools in our hands to quickly pivot to a new opportunity with the home object instead of just pantries, and allow people to indicate, let's say there's an older person, and I'm an actual occupational therapist here in Ohio, and we do deal with activities of daily living, things that people manage their day-to-day operations within their home. Some people living by themselves don't even have the capacity to organize their own items that they're out of, so they have caregivers coming in. And so in the case of someone who's elderly using a home ARk, they could potentially be supervised and managed. That inventory could be managed by the actual assistant or the aide or a family or even a distant relative. All of those home objects with inventories are prohibited. We've put prohibitive blocks in place so that these objects cannot be released publicly. And so there is a strong barrier there so that you can share this information only with specific people that you want to share it to. And then the third area we will mention and we'll briefly cover, and then we're going to go back, is with the changes in telehealth. There are, if anyone's not familiar with how that works, instead of getting in your car, going down to the doctor, waiting there in the waiting room with other people, and doing a basic checkup or getting certain exams and so forth done, up to a certain level of complexity, you're able to actually initiate under the new federal guidelines. Now, I'm going to say that nothing that I say here should be taken as an absolute always, because these laws and regulations are in flux, but there is a loosening right now of these regulations. And currently, there's a federal set of rules, and then there's state rules that apply. And so depending on what state you're in, there's a lot of logistical things that need to be verified before we just flip the switch and are doing everything to start connecting people. So there's the mechanical side of making things possible. There's the technical legal side of implementing this and safely. So I don't know if many have ever used telehealth. It's been restricted in certain use cases to be only applicable sometimes in the rural areas, sometimes just under very certain conditions. But ARknet is in a unique position right now because we have already been, even a year ago, doing tinkering and integration tests in the background with using APIs to leverage Zoom technology. And so we have the capabilities to bring in the Zoom tech and start patching that into our system in a way that would allow for discrete private meetups between certain parties. So before I continue, if anyone wants to just say, is this making sense to people? You can go ahead and go to that participant area and hit the yes button. If everybody's kind of tracking on what we've been talking about, that would be great. And I see a lot of hands going up. If anyone's confused about what we're talking, I'm looking for any problem areas. I don't see any red lights showing up here, so we're getting a lot of greens coming in, so that's great. Thank you. Now, if during this whole meeting, again, if there's a desire to ask a question, we ask that you post it into the chat and just say this is a question that you'd like to have answered. If you can try to make it brief and clear, that would be great. And then one of our team members, the support team members, are going to be consolidating those, and then we'll be looking at those later. But that is the basic core of what we're going to be talking about today. And I will be bringing the app online. And if there's any of my peers listening in, don't text me while I'm doing this. I'm just saying that. So I'm not going to turn off my text or anything like that, but I think I do want to share my screen through my phone to show you a little bit about how the products line up in an ARk, and then also show you how the shopping cart is framed in, and how that will work. And I can explain more once we give you a little visual of that. Then we'll go to the drawing board and kind of talk through some of the implications. Does anyone have any critical barriers to what we're talking about? I think everybody's good. And we do know, we see a note out there that there's a lot of people that are, they're well and anxious and they don't have it. But this is, thank you, Stephen. Is there any, so we're going to do a poll here later in the day, and we actually can do it right now. It'll kind of inform me. Let's do that at this juncture. I'm going to launch the polling, and you should see a series of questions. There's 2 questions actually. Which area of these things that we just spoke about are most interesting to you? And if you go into the polling and answer those questions, that'd be very appreciated. And then there's also, it looks like there's 3 questions I squeezed in. So there's 3 questions. Why don't you guys go ahead and start hitting those up if that's available to you guys. Just take a moment. I don't see any results coming in. Are people able to, okay, now they're coming in. Okay, cool. So the polls are available. They're coming in, the answers are coming in. And this is like a horse race. It's coming down the back stretch. The video telehealth is really proceeding, and the local health is coming in there. They're neck and neck. Let's see. Why did one of them disappear? There. Let's see. Oh, it just took the visual away for the middle one. Okay. Let's see here. It looks like the distressed local business area is probably getting the most amount of attention ahead of the telehealth, but the telehealth is like only 10% behind right now, 5% behind. Oh, now it's too close to call. Now I feel like I'm on CNN. Okay, it's neck, too close to call, too close to call. Let's just keep, there's 52 votes out of the 81. If you haven't voted yet, please go ahead and vote on these, and we'll just give it another minute. We'll go a full 3 minutes, maybe even 4 minutes if you need more time. But you guys are doing good with that. Thank you. I'll give you some quiet so I'm not talking in your ear. I should have thought of not talking sooner. So I see 56 have voted out of the 82 that are online at the moment. 57, still a few stragglers. We'll give you guys another minute in case you're looking it over. $58 votes. Okay. So it's really very neck and neck with the interest in the local business distress versus telehealth. It's 53% telehealth, 52% local business. And then the home, yeah, you know, the home stuff might not be as critical. This is very helpful to get your feedback, you know, but compared to the other 2 businesses, I mean, businesses going out of business is everybody's livelihood that are small business owners, and that impacts your home. And then the telehealth is obviously critical for trying to unload our system of healthcare that's going to be more and more burdened as time goes on, even the fatigue levels that might be setting in. So, and if I look down at what industries are being represented, a lot of people are unaffiliated, so interested outside of business. The next largest is the small business, and then medium, and then large corp, and then local government. We've got 1 person from local government. And then if I go down to which categories best describe you, some real estate, some information trading, healthcare, retail, wholesale, education, other products, some finance. So I think we've got a pretty good smattering of everybody there. Thank you guys for answering that poll. And we'll share those results. If you come in later and you want to answer those questions, please do. That is not an advertisement for vitamin water. They are a separate brand. Anyway, so in any case, what we want to do is activate this mobile app and share a view of what's cooking on the screen here. And again, to my compadres, now is not the time to text me. Now my dad may text me. That is a wild card. Anyway, let me turn on screen sharing. 1 second. Oh, of course. I changed my network to get uninterrupted connection. I have a hurdle. Okay. So what I'm going to have to do is actually fire up a couple screenshots or something here. I apologize. I had some problems with my network and my voice was really crappy. And I switched to I switched my network to get a different connection. If you can spare with me 1 moment, I'm going to do a workaround. And if this fails, you're going to lose my audio for a second. I'm going to switch networks and see if I can regain. 1 moment. Sorry for the interlude, everybody. Let's see. So can everybody hear me, or just anyone drop a note in there if everything's good? Got a hand on. Good. Everything looks good. Thank you. So I just switched over to my my Verizon hotspot here. So thank you. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And 1 moment. So everybody should be able to see my view. 1 second. And I'm jumping in. Oops, that was a leak. I'll have to change that. 1 second. Okay, if you guys see, this is 1.5. This is ARknet 1.5. And we are located in Yellow Springs. And I have a basic, quick little business test ARK. And this is in our development server, so please excuse the dust. But and we're not going to do a general review of ARknet at this point. A lot of you have been tracking on ARknet and our development and where we've been going. So I apologize if anyone has questions about this platform. We can do calls after this call. If you want to arrange a call with us, please make a note in the not in the public listing. You're going to want to send an email to support@myarknet.io, and we will arrange for a call right after this call. And we'll try to answer questions more discreetly, or opportunities for collaboration or integrations. So if you're familiar, this is a search listing looking locally on the map. If I click on this object, I can go to this object here. And this happens to be a business ARK that has a product listed inside of it. And so there's only one product that's there. But what I'm going to show you right now is how easy it is for someone to add their wares just by adding a post here on the bottom. And if I just say sneakers, because that's the way, that's the way I roll. And then we say like, these are my kicks, whatever. And if I put my description in here, whatever, I'm just going to put in some bogus, enter a price of $25. I could put my SKU in. Maybe it's a combination of letters and numbers. And yes, local delivery is available. If you notice, every single item in this list, and we have not fine-tuned this for the current crisis entirely, but this is where we injected local delivery, and we can move very rapidly at offering, pickup only, dining room closed, the thing is, we don't have to build just one version of local business. We can flex and bend this system as the rules and the engagement changes, even from county to county or from state to state, when other issues are needed to be identified for that business to help the general public. If that makes sense, I'm going to grab an image, and I think I have an image right here, some bogus kicks, and I'm going to actually check the TensorFlow. I'm going to say it's a running shoe. It's not really accurate. But anyway, we can ignore the TensorFlow component. That's more just about education more than anything right now. So now if I go to products, how many products do we have? Yes, I can sell that product. I can get this detailed view is not the final version. This is a rough cut from earlier. This is not even currently what we have. But if I add that to cart, now at the very top, if you guys can notice at the top, that cart appeared out of nowhere. And this design, again, none of these design elements are final. If I hit that cart, I'm inside my shopping cart. I want to buy 2 pairs. I can check out. I can enter my notes. Please leave by the back door. You know, that sounds like the wrong sentence, because it sounds like you're telling people to leave. But leave. Let's say leave item by the back door. There we go. And here's my neuroses items. So then that's basically how easy it is for a business to load a product once they've set up their account. Now, we are using Stripe integration, so all of Stripe's policies apply, but we are going to try to roll this out as a platform. So that means that we will try to do some of the legwork to make it easy for businesses that are not yet online. Because if you realize what ARknet's opportunity is here, it's not to bring e-commerce to people who have e-commerce. We're not trying to solve this problem for businesses that already are savvy and have a shopping cart somewhere. We will talk about later about integrating and tying more shopping carts back into ARknet and make ARknet an aggregator of shopping experiences, but we're not going to discuss that right now. Right now, we're trying to manage an emergency by participating in a positive way and provide actual notifications. These items are for sale. I'm out of these items. Delivery is now shut down for the day. Delivery resumes on Monday. You know, all of those kinds of critical business messages are par for this course. And there's other things that we can bring in to make it more plausible for a business to still maintain running their shop and answering questions online and so forth. And part of that, we do hope to connect the point-to-point video chat. Let's say you want to chat with your business vendor that's selling you something. I want to make a quick question to someone, and then I'm going to transact. I want to have a call with that person. I want to transact. I want to chat to that person, that vendor. Then I want to transact. Or I might want to use a chat bot that the vendor can have all their common FAQs and have the person interacting with a live chat bot out of ARknet. This is definitely on our roadmap. I'm mentioning it now because we might be in for a long haul. It could be several months. It could be, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be a couple weeks here. But we will be ready for distressed businesses going through fluctuation. Even if everything kind of resolves at some level faster than expected, business is disrupted. The way that the business is running, whether it's open or closed, is different, maybe from day to day, week to week. And so having business tools in the hand to basically use ARknet to control their public-facing side of their company, their offering, and what they want to say is going to be, we hope, easy enough to make it less stressful for these folks. I'll say one more thing. This is very much similar to the concepts that are out there for Google My Business and so forth and other tools, but I've had trouble personally helping companies that were under duress that had accidental, like 2 listings in Google My Business, and they couldn't get it fixed or updated for like months. We can't really have a system that can't be updated rapidly. And so we do hope to have all of our security checks on who a business is, have people go through the process of validating their banking information using the customer verification that Stripe provides, and also the verification that we provide. We believe that's going to bring in a very strong relationship between a verified vendor and a verified customer, because just going through the steps that we do, we're already eliminating robots and other things from trolling through our system. I'm going to pause right there and ask if anyone has, if that is making sense to everybody, if I'm gone way too fast. I know that some of this stuff might be newer to you guys, but feel free to say that yes, it's looking good, if it's looking good, or go slower if I'm blitzing too much. I'm getting green lights, I'm getting thumbs up. So no problems there that I can see at the moment. So thank you. So we wanted to show you the real goods of what we've got cooking and how this would actually look in the system. And again, actually, if you add a service, I'll just do it for kicks. I'll add another post, and let's just say delivery service. Because, you know, could ARknet spawn micro delivery companies as a service? Yeah, probably. Could we be the backbone tech for a micro startup on that regard? Even someone that's just community minded and wants to help out, you know, delivering goods from place to place within a 7,000 meter radius. So delivery service, I'm just going to put this in here. And I'm just going to say, you know, door to door, right? And then maybe you say all the precautions that you take. Now, obviously, all these businesses, we'd like to make sure that these are all vetted properly, as we've said. But, you know, maybe it's only a $2 delivery charge, and that is the local delivery thing. Oh, and I did it wrong. I have to change product. Oh, I disabled it. So all I have to do is add another service. I won't be able to do it right this second. But if I had it in there, another type of post, I forgot I'm on the development server. I have already framed in products, services, and coupons even, which we're going to kind of probably quiet down the coupon thing and just focus on products first and then services so that people can add that to their system. I'm not going to go ahead and do that one. But that would bring in a third tab that you can scroll to the right with. So someone can go to the products, they can get back, they can like this, they can do anything they want that we were doing before. If you wanted to have a discussion and have comments within this business arc, you could do that. If you wanted to share this business with a friend and say, hey, scan this business object and get to this business. Now this one happens to be private, but for all the businesses that we're talking about, they're going to be public. And those could be shared and circulated to someone else. So now we're at 30 minutes. I know we started about 5 minutes after the beginning, so we're about 30 minutes in. Regarding the home inventory, if some of you are familiar with, I'm going to pause my screen for just a moment and let me queue up a home object here. 1 second. So give me a moment.
Hey, Jordan, do you want to, can you do the checkout process?
The checkout, that's as far as I have on this device.
Okay.
So that is the checkout process. But for those that, if there's any folks that have been around from the beginning, when we had inline credit card processing and we were showing you that inside the app, we have actually moved all of the credit card processing back into the app to make it super easy for consumers. So I'm glad you mentioned that, David. And I just touched my face. anyway, so we have the ability to, hang on just 1 second. I'm almost done with this. So this is just a rough cut. If you guys can spare criticism, this is a bogus image and everything. But if I wanted to indicate what items are available, let's see if I can do it right here too. So I only have 2 items that I've even put into my system. But if you can realize how easy it is to say, oh, we don't do canned meat here. We do fresh meat, or we do whatever, or we have green or red for your status. Those items can be set and pushed out to the people that you're sharing it to in the restricted level access. So it's that easy to update. I'm going to pause one more time and show you a more meaningful view of the very similar pantry alert real quick. 1 second. Sorry, I have to change my range to a larger range. 1 second. Sorry. Okay, well, I was having some, let's see if it renders here. Okay. Okay, I have to abort on that demo, on that side of it. So I'll just say that between the business shopping, which we think is urgent, there's a lot of businesses even in our small town that are already closing their doors. I know that this is a decision that's happening all over the place for people. We still don't have there's still a lot of uncertainty as to what's covered, what's not covered. And we're talking real numbers, so there's a lot of stress. So we're hoping that we can provide this. We don't have a timeline this second, but we will release this as soon as it is appropriate and reasonably stable, to where the kinds of problems that we would have would be minor and fixes that we can fix after a launch. But we want to make sure that all of the protection of the accounts and the privacy that we're providing to people and the segmentation of all of these accounts and everything is proper and as expected. Because on top of the business, we layer in the telehealth. Does that make sense to everybody? Because the telehealth is happening through a business. So once you basically say, okay, I have services, the business can say, oh, we have telehealth services. And if that doctor is found and can be available to do telehealth, the new rules have waived the in-person assessment up to a moderate level. I won't get into details because it may vary state by state again, but there is a waiver of the immediate visit, which makes it easier for kind of engaging and starting to work with patients instead of them overloading the ER and regular doctor offices. But being able to have the products and the services out there is our gateway to then offering the service, which is telehealth, and patching in the video conferencing, which is HIPAA compliant and is managed through Zoom through a special offering. Questions or concerns that you guys have? Anybody have any messages that, so there is a question that I'll go ahead and ask here. I'm going to go ahead and read it. Do you think that you will partner with companies who are releasing at-home devices for example, measuring temperature, pulse, respiration, blood? Yes, is a great question. That would be very interesting if we could take some pressure off of traditional healthcare services. Yes, 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 and yes. Basically, once we've been able to establish, the video side of this conferencing and the connection, if there is additional data that can be collected at the point of the patient, the consumer, that can be shared with discreetly with the party on the other side, which might happen through a third party, HIPAA compliant data collection and sharing. Like ARknet may not touch that data. Ideally, we wouldn't touch it. Ideally, we would shepherd it to the right party. So we're just managing a connection to connection, if that makes sense. But there are some great companies out there that have long before this moment have been developing and releasing this kind of tech. So blood pressure cuffs, all kinds of sensors that are related to temperature and other body assessment can be data that can go into a device and out the other side to the doctor who has access to medical records, and et cetera, et cetera. Great question. So yes, this would also be a great resource to the mental health area. And as a therapist, I did my field work up at the Cleveland Clinic at the mental health facilities there. And we see a lot of repeat services because people go through ups and downs. And what do you think is happening right now with mental health people? Or you think they're exacerbated by this situation? Absolutely. And that's just going to create more distress because they're told they can't go anywhere, blah, 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 and so forth. So there's lots of information flying around. If therapists are available to treat and provide services, at least in Ohio, they've even cleared the way for follow-up therapy, like exercise type sessions, not just the initial evaluation, which is a very strong commitment to making this telehealth a lot more viable. And I think in general, telehealth industry is never going to see an opportunity to make improvements to itself than this opportunity that's right in front of us right now. And so do we have, I'm trying to see if there's been any more vetted questions real quick. Let me just, I'm just checking. So, okay, so I don't have a lot, now the questions are all flying in, so I don't have a lot of curated ones right now, but I'll skip through because this is going to be too much probably to process if they're flying in this fast. Let's see. So PayPal and different payment systems can be integrated. Yeah, once we do the Stripe system for payment, basically we have a gateway for handling, other types of payment systems, but we obviously don't want to do everything at once. So we're going to stick with Stripe. Stripe has a very broad application. Apple Wallet can be used with Stripe, and there's a long list of integrated wallets and so forth that can connect right into Stripe. So we're going to leave that question alone for a second. And then, so I'm going to skip the question from Emily to Dr. John. I'll let Dr. John answer that. He may not want to discuss anything in regards to that question, regards to contacts that we're working on right this second. Let's see. So Stephen is responding. Thank you for the device. Huge growth in this area. Remote patient monitoring, yes. And elder care is absolutely critical. Like even when we would go and work in the hospital, which I'm not currently working in a hospital setting since last fall, I was doing like one day a month kind of PRN support for a rehab unit in a local hospital. But when we would work with a patient that could not be left alone, they have something called, they have different names in every hospital, but it's basically a digital supervisor, and there's a nurse or someone on the other end that's watching about 5 or 6 screens, and they're checking to make sure that the patient hasn't gone out of bed or isn't under duress. And that kind of monitoring remotely could be definitely facilitated. We would want to partner with someone who's already capable of providing the staffing and so forth on that. We're not going to venture in and act like we can tackle a market like this and know all of the legal protections and all of the proper health care protections. We're going to be looking for partnering. We're going to be looking for integrations, and we're primed, for that. Let's see. Percentage of the platform is now, at what percentage would the platform say the platform is now before it is ready for launch? Well, the platform itself, I mean, right now, the launch of what we're talking about today is very much centered on making it business ready for a business to load their products, have a connected account to our Stripe platform, and to basically be able to conduct business, sell an item, and receive money. So as soon as we can do that safely, we're going to do it. That's all I can tell you right now. And we're grinding on this. We're grinding longer than the normal days. So just know that we have to follow the sequence. We don't have a time frame. And the percentage is a tricky question because we could hit a hurdle tomorrow that eats us up tomorrow, or we could have no hurdles tomorrow, and we could be wrapping key things up and moving to final ranges of testing on certain parts of this. So as the development team is coughing up the final work, we are running tests. We're doing segmented tests and giving feedback and trying to make sure this thing doesn't break out of the gate. On addition to the technology, we also are spinning up a very powerful enterprise level cloud deployment. This is not your average cloud deployment because the load in which we want to be able to scale, both in terms of volume and in terms of gigabits per, in terms of the load, we want to be able to scale this in a way that is sustainable. We're still working through some details, but we aim to make this as affordable as a platform that can support this can offer, if that makes any sense. We're going to cut the margins of what we're doing and how much money we maybe need as a percentage to make sure that this thing can still run the second week, the third week, the next month. But we're going to make sure that the money that comes in from those micro kind of platform cost will more than be seen as justified and valuable to keep the system running. Yes, and for Rick, that is Stripe. Yes, correct. Let's see here. Peripherals are key, blah, 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 making telehealth and so forth. So I'm going to actually close my screen share on that right now and come back to me here. I'm just going to keep reading through these if that's okay, guys. And I'm a little bit, I'm probably, sometimes when I flip the button here, it kind of screws up my view of the chat. So let me widen this up. 1 second. Is there a way to track where a physician is beaming from? So it's very interesting that you're mentioning that, Scott. We are actually going to be loading, as you guys know, there is a number of businesses that we have that are being onboarded in terms of the data that are tied to business listings, mostly retail. But we are about to onboard. We also have about 900,000 doctors, physicians, clinics, medical facilities that we will be working on. Now that is a separate project from everything that we've been talking about. And it needs its own attention in terms of bringing those listings in and allowing those locations to come online and to become part of a verified process. And we hope to have that ready in the time that we have the telehealth technology ready to go and all of our legal stuff ready to go for that. So that was a great question about physicians. And those all we have physicians with all of their geo points everywhere as well. So that is in the queue as well. let's see. Could we get a rating system for products and so forth? Evan, as someone had submitted that. Thank you, Evan, for sending that along. I don't know if who that came from originally, or if that's something that you know that was asked at some point. But we want to have a special. We want to be a little bit not like a lot of tools that are out there that have reviews are absolutely brutal to vendors, and it becomes quite a disturbing experience for vendors to be basically exposed, and someone out there can have one bad moment and then they just try to ruin you because they think that's fair for some reason. The level of justice and scales are always tilted to ourselves, as we know. But in any case, what we're going to do very likely, we're still discussing this internally, but we want to provide a conduit of feedback from a customer to the owner for improving the owner's product. In other words, those feedback reviews are going to go in discreetly to the business owner. Now, there'll be an opportunity to dialogue with that person. This is stuff that we do not have currently. We will onboard it at some later date. We don't even have a schedule for it. But when we introduce reviews, it's going to be different than what is out there in the market. And the review and the feedback is going to be meant to help the business improve, not to punish them for lack of service or something. So we hope that will be a positive issue that we can bring to our platform that gives people a back channel to talk to the owners, and also the ability to maybe get a better experience the next time they go to that service. The other thing is we will have stats that kind of indicate as a metric how well a business is doing. And we could probably do that through how many orders they're placing through ARknet. And this is a great approach, we believe, because we want people to be encouraged to run their business, their activity through ARknet, and that will actually impact the number of orders and successful purchases that they've run. So we believe that will be effective. Let's see here. I apologize. I'm going to try to look and see. Let's see. Focus on facilitating. So Scott, let's see. So yeah, I've actually, there's a lot of stuff about private healthcare information and medical record systems and sharing that data. And we are not a healthcare broker, for information right now. So we are going to work within telehealth right now within the bounds of how the rules have been loosened, but we will have a wide eye for how we can integrate with someone who's already handling back channel medical record handling and so forth. So we do not need to recreate the wheel, but we can synchronize and help connect and provide services as add-ons to some of these other tools that might be out there even. And that could all be powered by ARknet. And I've worked with in the past a state level project pitch to work on a medical emergency recovery for a pretty big project that was funded at the state level for rescuing after emergencies using drones. We had collaborated with the Air Force Institute, Case Western, who's phenomenal at transitional medical health data moving and triage. We also partnered with Share, a microtransit company out of Columbus, and also a medical records company called Rubix up in northern Ohio in Toledo. So I've got some old connections that I'll be, we'll be talking to these folks. We don't have anything established with these guys, but we will revisit some of those relationships and try to listen for where we can chime in and deliver a good note into this symphony that's going on. Let's see. Isolated. Okay, so at present, load, how many people can be isolated how people, okay, then can ARknet still function? Everything IT is slowing down. I think that there's a concerted effort by Wi-Fi service providers to provide not only more service, but also free service to students at home. And I just know that these tech companies are they're gonna do the right thing, I believe, and not be, I think they're gonna try to pump as much data through their systems as possible. Let's see, we had the question about PayPal system. Let's see, Cheryl had asked, okay, that was already there. Sorry, I'm going back over. Will business ARks be able to have video? As soon as we can see, right now when we spin up everything in our enterprise level cloud stuff, we have to watch the load and the behaviors as we're onboarding these features. But we can definitely start opening up the capacity for videos, maybe even just a few videos initially. If that will help business ARks be able to tell about their products and answer questions or FAQs, we will fast track that as our network allows, and we'll be watching the load, and we'll also be watching, you know, what kind of base amount of funds that we could get to offset our costs, because none of this stuff is free for us to deploy. There's hard costs in running this inside of a tier 4 data center, but we will have the goods if we have the support, the financial backing. Obviously, we'd love to get more people who believe in our mission and can support our vision, you know, by investing, but we're not here advising on that, but we would be hopeful that people see that we are hopefully making an impact at some point and they can back us up even more. If you could build into the ARK ER wait times, that's gonna be a very tricky integration that we probably wouldn't be able to do about wait times unless it was crowdsourced data, you know, just from people, boots on the ground, you know, people voting. Basically, we would have a voting opportunity for people to say long line, long line, long line, short line. That's definitely something that we can gather, aggregate, and share. And you could see it on the map, you know, theoretically, and see which one is busiest, you know, so you could have an indicator even. Thank you, excellent idea on the rating system. Let's see here. Explore mode. Right now, we're not going to prioritize the explore mode, even though the AR tools are going to be still viable and useful throughout everything that we've been talking about, still all real. We'll probably bring some interactions into the AR, so you could be sitting back in your lazy boy and bring up your products, you're looking at it, and then make your purchase right out of the AR mode. We're not going to make that like, that's eye candy and like high functionality that is accelerated by eyewear and everything, but we're really focusing on trying to get the mechanicals in place for businesses to survive right now. So that's got to be our first. We will definitely, Stephen Pedroff is saying we should have a position paper, and we will do that so that there's a clean follow-up to this briefing. And then let me just read the rest of your sentence there. Tell us how ARknet will help patients, physicians connect in terms of scheduling appointments, reporting, and afterwards. And I think, Stephen, if I know your background, you're deep into telehealth. And if I remember correctly, you are, you did all of the, anyway, we won't get into it unless you want to disclose. So let's see here. Silent emergency signals would be nice. Besides everything that we've been talking about, you remember that we have baked in the ability to do notifications and to turn those on and off. All of those notifications can come to life with some pretty real world applications here. And we'll get more into that later. So we're saying that telehealth is going to be an entry point. I think telehealth is going to be like one of the business applications on the service side that will be probably most helpful in the short term. And then the product listings on the business ARK side are going to be the most helpful for local search. And I think I said this in a previous broadcast, but if you guys know that if you're using your Wi-Fi or if you're using your wireless and you do a search in Google or whatever, and it tells you Google My Business listing, but it's like 100 miles away, but you call them, and then you order something and you realize your pizza is not going to come because you ordered it from a pizza place where your Wi-Fi service is connected, not where you're located. That is a big difference. ARknet won't make that mistake. So we believe that we're going to have very tight, granular location, like savvy sensing in terms of these locations. And if you wanted to flag when a business is back open again, in these hard times where businesses have very scattered hours or whatever, you might turn that on as an alert, and then you'll get notified, oh, they just opened. That would be phenomenal because they may only be open for 3 hours a day. Those kinds of changes we can respond to with ARknet because we built this in a very flexible, pliable way that will handle that kind of variation. So let's see here. When will the app be released? Some of these questions may have been asked. Oh, well, I just got asked a few moments ago. We will release it as soon as feasible. We don't have a time frame because we are working on the sequence and the engineering is unforgiving. You have to finish it. So we will release it as soon as possible. There's nothing else more pressing than getting it hardened and released. And then we'll make minor tweaks and improvements, you know, as we continue. Could there be a document or file, patient info and so forth, allergies? That gets into private health information. We're going to let the healthcare systems circulate that information right now. We are not going to attempt to handle healthcare data files and storage of that. There's other systems that can move that more efficiently between existing providers. But again, you guys realize that the federal government, as far as I understand it from the reading of it, and maybe Stephen Pedroff can validate this because you've got your sniffer on that level, that the federal government has authorized, mandated that businesses, that insurance companies reimburse for telehealthcare services. That is not something that existed before. Oh, maybe Stephen took off. He's got to switch over to another meeting. So we probably just lost him. Stay home. Yeah, he's saying, okay. Let's see. What do you think will be the best way that ARknet can help today? I mean, I think that these things that we're focused on are probably, I think we're trying to tackle it on a couple fronts, but the business front is probably the most, the thing that's like in our hand already, and we're just accelerating our effort there. That is the key thing. And then is there marketing and so forth? As soon as we have a viable product, we will market it. We are not going to market it beforehand. So do we have enough tools and capabilities to market this and increase it? Yes, but we will also market it in a way that we're testing the load against our expandable system. So we don't want this to start off, give people hope, and then crash. So that would be just as disappointing as not having anything at all. We don't want to give any false hopes here. That's an emotional roller coaster to give people hope and then not have anything to deliver. So we want to deliver the goods. Yeah, we will actually be providing online like a little self-guided tours for training. We have set up a base e-learning system where you can actually do some review, because we might want to also be tapping into customer service and some other roles that might be helpful. We will be reaching out if there's certain interest. If you guys have a certain propensity for certain skill sets, we don't want to have people that are new to doing some of the things that we need done, but we might want to tap into situations where people need help with some more work, and those opportunities aren't going to be immediate. We will let you know in a future announcement when we are thinking about getting ready to do something like that. But the training will be very important for us showing you how these things work and then how you can help other people. I'm going to say that we don't have any other questions coming in right now. If we want to say, does anyone have, if you say that things went well, give us a thumbs up on this for today, if that's good, or the yes is better, because it's probably an easier button to get to. But if everything went well, we really appreciate you guys all coming out. We do have a recording of this. We'll probably take it and polish it and release it in another vantage point where we can post it after we've done a little bit of massage to it. Looks like we're getting some good feedback so far, so good. I don't have anything else to say at this point, but I'm going to say, David, what did I forget?
There's so much more I want to say, but that's it for today. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today for this. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you, guys. I see some people posting a few notes. Thank you. And we're going to go ahead and close down the meeting in 15 seconds here. Thank you, Joshua. Thanks, Cheryl. Thank you, David LaMountain. All right, folks, stay safe. Don't take any risks. You know, just try to play it safe, because this is these are odd times. Stay well. Keep washing your hands. Take care, guys.